When my son told me to pack a small bag because his wife's parents were coming, I felt a quiet sting in my heart. I tried to hide it behind a gentle smile. I did not want to cause trouble. I told him, "It's okay, I'll manage." But inside, something shifted. I never imagined a day when my own child would send me away from the home I helped him build. He said they needed space, and he wanted his in-laws to feel comfortable. I nodded. I did not argue. Mothers learn early that silence sometimes protects the little pieces of love we still hold. So I folded a few clothes, placed my old sweater on top, and closed the suitcase slowly. I kept thinking, it's only one night. I can bear one night. When I reached the hotel, the room smelled of lemons and something unfamiliar. I sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the soft hum of the air conditioner. The silence felt heavier than the walls around me. I told myself not to cry. I told myself this was normal. Families change, children grow, mothers step back. But the truth is, I felt like a guest in my own life. An hour later, while I was warming my hands around a cup of tea, my phone buzzed. It was my daughter-in-law. Her voice trembled, yet tried to stay firm. "Mom, we need to talk. Something happened." I felt my chest tighten. The sound of rain outside softened, as if the world was leaning closer to hear. "What is it, dear?" I asked gently. There was a pause, a long one, painful. "Please, come back home. My husband, my parents, they're asking my husband for a divorce." The cup nearly slipped from my hands. Divorce? Why? What could have gone wrong in just 1 hour? I grabbed my bag and rushed out of the hotel. The hallways felt too long, the elevator too slow, the night too cold. My thoughts ran faster than my feet. When I reached the house, the air inside felt tight, like no one had breathed for minutes. Her parents were sitting on the couch, their faces stiff, their eyes heavy with judgment. My son looked lost. My daughter-in-law sat trembling. In that moment, I realized something deeper had been broken long before I was pushed into a hotel room. And this was only the beginning. When I stepped back into the house, the air felt different. It was heavy, almost trembling. I could feel the tension before anyone even spoke. My daughter-in-law's parents sat straight, their hands folded tightly, like they were holding back something explosive. My son stood near the dining table, quietly wringing his fingers, the same nervous habit he had as a child. I walked in slowly, trying not to make any sudden noise. "I came as quickly as I could," I said softly. My daughter-in-law looked at me with teary eyes. "Mom, I'm so sorry," she whispered. That was the first time I saw her so small, so fragile, like the strength she always carried had been pulled right out of her. Her father cleared his throat. "We did not expect to find what we found," he said sharply, but with a cold kind of politeness. "This house, this marriage, there are things we cannot accept." My heart dropped. I had no idea what they were talking about. I sat down slowly, folding my hands on my lap. "I am sure we can talk," I said quietly. But they didn't want to talk. They wanted to accuse. Her mother pointed at a door. "We went into the guest room. We saw things that made us uneasy, things that made us question everything you people call family." My son's face turned pale. "I told you not to go into private rooms," he murmured, but they ignored him. I felt a wave of confusion wash over me. Guest room? What was in there? I lived in this home, yet somehow I was the one who knew the least. My daughter-in-law clutched her mother's hand. "Please don't do this. You're misunderstanding." But her father raised his voice, slightly, though still controlled. "We found documents, papers that show lies, hidden things, and we cannot let our daughters stay in a house where the truth is concealed." I looked at my son. His eyes glistened, not with guilt, but with fear. Fear of losing the woman he loved, fear of hurting me, fear of everything happening too fast. "Tell me," I whispered, "what did they find?" He swallowed hard. His voice shook. "Mom, they found the papers about the house. They think we lied about who owns it." I felt a sharp tug in my chest. The house, the ownership, the papers I signed years ago to give him freedom, security, dignity, those papers were never meant to create chaos. They were meant to support him, not tear his marriage apart. His father-in-law stood up. "We want a separation. If your son cannot be honest, he cannot be a husband to our daughter." Silence fell. My daughter-in-law started crying softly. My son lowered his head. And I sat there realizing that my quiet sacrifices, the ones I thought would protect him, might now destroy everything he built. This was not the end. It was the unraveling. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional stories. For a long moment, no one spoke. The room felt suspended, like time itself was afraid to move. My son sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor. My daughter-in-law's soft sobs were the only sound in the room. I watched her parents, stiff and silent, their decision already made in their minds, and I wondered how something as simple as a few old documents could tear a home apart. I took a slow breath. "Those papers, they were never meant to hurt anyone," I said gently. My voice felt small in the large room, like it had to fight through years of walls and misunderstandings. Her father narrowed his eyes. "Then why hide them? Why sign a house under your name and pretend he was the owner? Why deceive us?" I looked at my son. He still could not lift his head. "Because I asked her not to tell," he whispered. "I didn't want anyone to know I wasn't the one who bought this place." My daughter-in-law wiped her tears. "Why would that matter to him?" she whispered to him, her voice shaking. "Why would you hide something like that from me?" He finally looked up, and I saw a kind of pain in his eyes that only comes from pride mixed with love. "Because I wanted to feel like a man who could provide for you. I didn't want you to think I couldn't give you a good life." Her mother sighed. "A marriage built on pride is a weak one." I shook my head softly. "No. A marriage built on fear is weak. Pride is just the shield," I said quietly. "My son never lied to hurt you. He lied because he was scared of not being enough." The room fell silent again. Rain tapped gently on the windows as if reminding us that the world outside kept moving even when our hearts were stuck. I continued. "Years ago, when his father died, I signed the papers to buy this house. I wanted my son to have a stable place, a home where he could start a new chapter. But he begged me to keep it quiet. He wanted to stand on his own feet. I honored his wish." My daughter-in-law looked at him with a trembling expression. "You should have told me. I would never judge you for something like that." He nodded, his voice breaking. "I know. But sometimes the people we love the most are the ones we fear disappointing." Her father rose from the couch. "This is not simply about a house. It is about honesty." "Then let honesty start today," I said gently. "Not with anger, not with judgment, just truth." I looked at my son. "Tell them everything. Tell your wife everything, and let her decide with a full heart." My daughter-in-law reached for his hand. Her parents watched with stern eyes, still uncertain, but in that moment, I felt a small shift, a fragile bridge forming. This family wasn't broken yet, but it was standing on thin, trembling ground. My son sat there in the quiet, holding his wife's hand like it was the only steady thing left in his world. I could see the fear in his eyes, but also something else, the courage he had been burying for far too long. Her parents stared at him, waiting, almost daring him to speak the truth they believed he had been hiding. He took a slow breath. "I want to tell everything," he began softly. "No more fear, no more secrets." His voice shook, but his words came out clear. "I did not buy this house. My mom did. She used her savings, everything she had left after Dad passed. She wanted me to start my married life in a safe place, but I didn't want anyone to know. Not because I wanted to lie, but because I wanted to earn your respect on my own. His wife looked at him gently. You already had it. You always did. He swallowed hard. I didn't feel that way. When we got married, your family talked about how well you were raised, how much you deserved. And I kept thinking, what if I'm not enough for her? What if she regrets choosing me? Her mother crossed her arms. So you lied to make yourself look good? No, he said, shaking his head. I stayed quiet because I felt ashamed. I thought if you knew the truth, you would look down on me. Her father leaned forward slightly. Honesty is not about what makes you look strong. It is about what makes a marriage real. My son lowered his gaze. I know, and I'm sorry. The room grew still again. My daughter-in-law squeezed his hand, tears forming in her eyes. You should have trusted me, she whispered. I never married you for a house or money. I married you because I loved the way you looked at me, like I mattered. He nodded, tears threatening to fall. I was afraid of losing you. I wanted you to feel proud to be with me. I watched them quietly, my hands folded on my lap. Their pain was soft, not loud. Their disappointment was gentle, not angry. It was the kind of heartbreak that comes from love, not betrayal. Her father stood up slowly. Marriage without honesty cannot survive, he said firmly. If you want our blessing, you must promise there will be no more secrets. My son nodded. I promise. Then something unexpected happened. His father-in-law looked at me. His voice softened slightly. And you should not have been sent away tonight. You are part of this home. For the first time that night, my heart felt warm. Maybe this moment, painful as it was needed. Maybe it was the beginning of healing. My daughter-in-law leaned against my son, and he wrapped his arm around her. They looked fragile, but together. And sometimes together is all a family truly needs to rebuild. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional stories. After her parents' firm words, the house grew quiet again. Not the heavy, suffocating silence from earlier, but something softer, something uncertain. Like the air after a storm when the ground is still wet, and everything is deciding what comes next. I sat back slowly, letting the moment settle. My son held his wife close, their hands intertwined with a fragile kind of hope. Her mother stood near the hallway, looking thoughtful. Her father remained seated, but the tension in his shoulders eased just a little. It wasn't acceptance, not yet, but it was no longer rejection. It was the beginning of listening. My daughter-in-law wiped her tears and looked at her parents. Mom, Dad, he didn't lie to hurt me. He hid it because he was scared. You know how he grew up. You know how much pressure he puts on himself. Her father sighed deeply. Fear is understandable, but fear cannot become the foundation of a marriage. She nodded. I know, and we'll fix that together. My son finally spoke again, his voice barely above a whisper. I should have told you everything, not only about the house, but about how I felt. I didn't want you to think you married someone weak. His wife touched his face gently. Weak? You? The man who held my hand through surgery? The man who worked double shifts so we could save for a future? Don't ever call yourself weak. He closed his eyes, letting her words sink into the places that had been hurting for far too long. I felt tears touch my own eyes, not from sadness, but from the tenderness between them. Their love was young, but it had depth. It just needed honesty to grow. Her mother stepped forward. "If we stay tonight, may we speak openly?" she asked, looking first at me, then at her daughter. My daughter-in-law nodded. "Yes, please." Her father looked at my son with a calmer expression. "I may have reacted too quickly earlier, but understand this. Our daughter is precious to us. When we saw the papers, we assumed the worst. Perhaps that was too harsh." My son's voice softened. "I understand, and I'm sorry for causing worry." The tension in the room loosened just a little more. I decided to speak. Families make mistakes, sometimes out of pride, sometimes out of fear. But tonight, maybe we can build something better, something truthful. My daughter-in-law walked over and sat beside me. She held my hand, her grip warm, sincere. "Mom," she whispered, "I'm sorry we sent you away. It wasn't fair." Her apology touched a place deep inside me. "It's okay," I said softly. "What matters is that we're talking now." Her father finally stood up. "Let us all sit. We need to understand one another." And just like that, the four of them, my son, his wife, and her parents, gathered around the living room table. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as a family trying to find its way back to truth. The night felt long, but for the first time, it felt hopeful too. We all sat around the living room table like a calm circle after a storm. No one raised their voice, no one blamed. It felt unusual, almost fragile, but it was a start. The lamp on the side table glowed softly, casting warm light on tired faces. The night outside was quiet, as if even the world wanted to listen. Her father folded his hands on the table. "Let us understand each other," he said gently. His tone was no longer sharp. It held the kind of firmness that comes from experience, not anger. My son nodded, sitting straighter. "I want to be open," he said. "Not just about the house, but about everything I've been scared to share." His wife looked at him with soft encouragement. "We're listening," she whispered. He took a breath. "After Dad passed away, I felt responsible. For Mom, for the house, for everything. I thought I needed to show the world I could stand on my own. And when we got married, I wanted you to feel safe with me. I didn't want to look like a burden you had to carry." Her mother leaned in slightly. "But you never were a burden." He shook his head. "I didn't believe that. And when Mom offered to buy the house, I thought letting anyone know would make me look weak." I touched his arm gently. "Son, love is not a competition. It's not about who provides more. It's about sharing the weight." His wife nodded. "I would have understood. I would have supported you." He looked at her, eyes filled with regret. "I know. I just didn't trust myself enough." Her father exhaled slowly. "Pride is a quiet enemy. It speaks softly, but takes so much from us." His voice softened. "But acknowledging it, that takes courage." My son blinked, surprised by the unexpected kindness. For a moment, there was silence. Then her mother spoke. "We should confess too." She looked at her daughter, then at my son. "We judge too quickly. We came into this home and let assumptions guide us. We should have asked before accusing." Her father nodded. "We reacted out of fear for our daughter, but perhaps we did not give you the benefit of truth." My daughter-in-law looked between her parents and her husband. "This is my family," she said quietly, "and I want us all to move forward together." Her mother reached out and held her hand. "We want that too." The air felt lighter. The tension that had wrapped around the house all evening slowly loosened, like a knot finally being undone. My son wiped his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving us another chance." Her father stood up and placed a hand on his shoulder, stiffly but sincerely. "Then make sure there are no more secrets. Build your marriage on trust, not fear." My son nodded firmly. "I will." For the first time that night, I saw hope settle into the room, warm and steady. Maybe the worst part was over. Maybe healing had finally begun. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional stories. After her father placed his hand on my son's shoulder, the room grew quiet again, this time in a peaceful way. Not the cold silence from earlier, but a warm and gentle one, like the soft hush that settles after rain. Everyone looked tired, but no one looked angry anymore. We were all simply human, trying to understand each other the best we could. My daughter-in-law sat beside me, still holding my hand. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her grip was steady. "Mom," she whispered, "there's something I want to say, something I should have said earlier." I turned to her, surprised. "What is it, dear?" She looked down for a moment, collecting her thoughts. "It wasn't only my parents who misunderstood. I did too. I knew you felt pushed aside lately. I knew my husband was trying to balance both sides, and instead of helping him, I let things build up inside me." She blinked back tears. "Sending you to a hotel tonight, it wasn't fair, and I'm so sorry." Her words touched a deep, quiet part of me, the part that had carried the hurt in silence. I squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you," I whispered. "That means more than you know." Her mother watched us, her eyes softening. She said quietly, "A home is not only built with bricks, it is built with how we treat each other." Tonight we were reminded of that. My son looked between all of us, his eyes filled with gratitude. He's been carrying everything alone, trying to protect Mom, and trying to be the perfect husband. But in doing so, I only created distance. I touched his shoulder. "You never had to protect me from anything," I said with a small smile. "I only ever wanted you to be happy." He nodded slowly, understanding that perhaps for the first time. Then her father cleared his throat. His voice was calm, almost gentle now. He said, looking at me, "Your family has been through loss. We did not know the weight you carried. We should not have judged so quickly." It was not a full apology, but it was honest, and sometimes honesty is more healing than perfection. I nodded. "We all have our fears," I said softly. "Tonight, we faced them." My daughter-in-law wiped her cheeks and leaned against her husband. They looked young again, hopeful, fragile, but ready to rebuild. She whispered, "We want you to stay here tonight, Mom, please. No more hotels." Her words warmed my heart. "Of course," I said. "This is my home, too." We sat there for a few more moments, letting the warmth settle between us. For the first time since the evening began, I felt a quiet peace spreading through the room, a sense that maybe this painful night had brought us closer than ever before. And though none of us said it out loud, we all felt it. Something had changed. Something important. Something that would shape our family's future. The night slowly faded into quiet, peaceful hours. No one argued anymore. No one raised their voice. We all drifted off to sleep in our own corners of the house, carrying softer hearts than the ones we held earlier. For the first time in a long while, I felt the house breathing again, warm, calm, steady. Early the next morning, I woke before everyone else. The sky outside was barely blue, touched with a hint of gold. I went to the kitchen and started the coffee, letting the gentle aroma fill the room. It felt almost symbolic, like the home itself was waking up with new hope. As I placed mugs on the table, my daughter-in-law walked in quietly. Her hair was still messy from sleep, and her eyes held the softness of someone who'd cried too much but finally found rest. "Good morning, Mom," she whispered. I smiled. "Good morning, dear." She stood there for a moment, then walked over and embraced me. Not a polite hug, not a forced one. This one was warm, real, full of meaning. "Thank you for staying." she said softly. "I want you here, not just today, but always." My heart warmed. "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere unless you ask me to." She shook her head quickly. "No, never again." A few minutes later, my son joined us. His eyes were a little red, but he carried a lightness I hadn't seen in months. He wrapped his arms around both of us. "My family," he said quietly. And for the first time it truly felt like we were one. Soon her parents entered the kitchen too. Their expressions were calmer, touched with humility. Her father nodded respectfully at me. "Good morning," he said, in a tone that carried something close to gratitude. "Good morning," I replied with a warm smile. We all sat down at the table. 6 people who began the previous night as almost strangers, now sharing coffee like a family rediscovering its rhythm. Her father spoke first. "We talked last night," he said, looking at his daughter and son-in-law. "If you both promise to be fully honest from now on, we will not stand in the way of this marriage." Her daughter-in-law nodded, her hand firmly wrapped in her husband's. "We promise." My son added softly, "No more secrets." Her mother looked at me. "And we hope to know you better. Truly." Her voice held sincerity this time, not judgment. I nodded gently. "I would like that." The sunlight slowly filled the room, warming the table, warming our hearts. It felt like the house itself was finally at peace. As we ate breakfast together, simple eggs and toast, nothing fancy, I realized something profound. Families are not perfect. They break, they bend, they misunderstand. But when love returns, healing begins. And that morning, in that quiet kitchen, surrounded by warmth and forgiveness, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. A new beginning. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional family stories.